Released in 2009, Carriers came and went without much attention. It was overshadowed by bigger, louder movies, and I get it. I mean, that was the year for movies like Avatar, Zombieland, Friday the 13th, but under all those hyped projects is this underdog. The story follows two brothers, Brian and Danny, Brian's girlfriend Bobby, and Danny's friend Kate. The world has already collapsed under the weight of a highly infectious virus. It isn't the kind that turns people into monsters, but it leaves them coughing, bleeding, and dying alone. In order for their survival, Brian has created a set of rules. Avoid the infected at all costs, as their breath is highly contagious. Anything touched by them in the last 24 hours must be disinfected. And finally, the ill can't be saved. They're already dead. It's cold and practical, a few things that survival demands. But as the film continues, every one of those rules start to crumble, exposing what the real infection is, the decay of empathy. And that's what makes Carriers so depressing. It isn't just the virus killing people, it's fear, guilt, and the loss of human connection. Today we're diving deep into how Carriers turns the apocalypse into something deeply personal and just straight up heartbreaking. The film opens on Brian, Danny, Bobby, and Kate driving through empty roads. They're headed toward Turtle Beach, a place the brothers used to vacation when they were younger. Their journey is guided by Brian's rules, a strict code of survival that gives the illusion of control in a world that's lost it. The contrast is immediate. Brian's all about cold logic, while Danny still clings onto fragments of compassion. The first real test comes when they encounter Frank and his infected daughter stranded on the road. The rules say to avoid them, and that's exactly what they do. But their car breaks down and they're forced to go back to the very people they tried to avoid. Frank convinces them to drive to a nearby high school rumored to have a serum. Maybe there's still something actually out there. Arriving at the school, they find only ghosts of civilization, empty halls and hospital beds filled with nothing but silence. Kate tries to use a phone to call her parents only to find dead lines, the symbolic end of connection. Then they manage to find the last remaining doctor, exhausted, broken, and out of hope. He explains that their serum didn't save anyone, it only extended their suffering by 3 more days. That's it. The doctor goes on to tell the kids with him that our group is going to be taking them home after their medicine. But since they're all infected, he's really about to put them out of their misery with some potassium punch. It's one of the film's many turning points where optimism dies quietly, replaced by the understanding that even science can't save you here.
Sometimes choosing life is just choosing a more painful form of death.
As our group leaves the school, we go back outside to Frank's kid having trouble breathing. Bobby tries to help but doesn't keep her own mask on while removing the girl's, and she gets blood coughed on her. She's now infected but doesn't tell the group as they come back. The girl tells Frank that she has to go number 2, and he tries to get her to go alone because he realizes they're gonna be left behind, but she's too weak to walk. As they leave, Frank does his best to keep it together. The scene of him singing with her as she continues closer to death is pure devastation. He's terrified, helpless, but determined to make her last moments gentle. It's Carriers in a nutshell, kindness gasping for air in a dying world. The group eventually arrives at a golf course hotel. While they search the place, Brian starts digging for gold in a pool, but all he finds is a dead body, and he nearly falls in but is saved by Danny. Out on the field, Brian's recklessness continues. Bro is literally having the time of his life and ends up crashing a cart. He pleads for Bobby to join him in the sand and makes the fatal mistake of kissing her, unknowingly sealing his own fate. It's the cruel irony of the film. Love is lethal now. When they finally start golfing, they break a few windows on the building, and one of the balls lands inside a room that's stacked with supplies, and we can hear a voice on the other end of a radio saying, "We're coming back." So maybe that guy in the pool wasn't alone after all. Back inside, Kate and Danny are the first to discover these armed survivalists. As the rest of the group gets found, the men start asking what they did to their friend in the pool, but they come to the conclusion that he must have been infected and didn't tell the others before they left. The leader decides to let our group go, but his friends start to protest. These weirdos want the girls to stay behind and accompany them. They force the ladies to strip to make sure they're clean, and this is where we see Bobby's infection. So the survivalists make them leave leave and take their own leader at gunpoint to set things straight. Maybe it's just me, but if we're in a world where water is hard to come by, meaning we aren't taking showers like normal, fornication is gonna be the last thing on my mind, I swear. Back on the road, the group's morale isn't doing so good. They take a stop at a gas station for more fuel, and Kate contemplates calling her parents. But thanks to her earlier conversation with Bobby, Kate accepts that they are most likely dead, since they were quarantined on a cruise ship after all. I don't even want to imagine how crazy things must have gotten on the ship during all this.
Everyone everywhere is dead. Your parents, my parents.
Kate goes on to confront Danny, insisting they need to leave Bobby behind or they're all gonna die. It's the moment Brian's rules become emotional torture devices, logic clashing with guilt. Danny goes on to convince Brian and he comes back down to reality. He drags Bobby out of the car, but he gives her a fighting chance, leaving her only 2 miles from the nearest town with water, food, and advice to find a blanket before the cold takes over and she's too weak to do anything else. They drive off, leaving her to her lonely fate. From here, the group's morality completely disintegrates. On the road again, they encounter 2 women driving from the opposite direction. After Brian blocks the road with their car, Danny asks the women for help, lying about how he has a pregnant wife and needs gas. But the women see through the bullshit and refuse. Seeing his little brother get nowhere, Brian opens fire, taking out the driver and eventually the passenger, but not before he catches one to the leg. This obviously causes a fight between the brothers and everything comes spilling out. Brian admits that he lied about their parents being dead. He only said it to keep Danny from feeling guilty for leaving. This is the most vulnerable we've seen Brian be, a man so determined to protect his brother that he's been slowly destroying himself in the process. As they continue on the road, Danny realizes that they have to actually clean and dress Brian's wound properly or he'll get an infection, so they stop at a nearby house. Inside, Danny finds an old corpse guarding the open window. In the other room, he finds a starving dog eating its owner. The dog attacks him and he shoots it, spraying himself with blood, but he's not worried because it's actually not contagious. While tending to Brian's wound, Danny soon discovers that he's infected. The rules come back around full circle. The ill can't be saved, but now it's not a stranger, it's his brother. They ultimately lock Brian in the quarantine trunk, while over the radio they hear the last broadcast from the last survivor of Corpus Christi, a voice fading into static. The world has officially gone silent.
Don't take this the wrong way. You pull down your pants.
The most emotionally devastating moment in Carriers, the one that completely broke me, is the final confrontation between Danny and Brian. The trio has stopped for the night and Brian asks for the keys because he knows what's coming. As they get a fire going, Brian dozes off and Danny manages to sneak the keys away. But Brian, being ever so persistent, gets up, revealing he has the real set of keys. And here is where Brian confronts his truth about the people he buried at the stadium. While they dumped the bodies, some of them would move. Brian would look over at the supervisor, but he pretended not to see it, so they all pretended too. That's the moment you can hear everything he's been carrying: guilt, exhaustion, and the unbearable weight of survival. Brian doesn't want to go out like them. He doesn't want to be alone, rotting away, slowly suffocating in his own body, waiting for a mercy that never comes. Either they take Brian with them or put him down, so Danny takes him out and cremates his body the next morning. This scene actually managed to make me cry genuinely because I understood Brian. I'm not gonna rot from the inside out, alone, too weak to even move. I would rather be put out of my misery. But it's also the fact that I have siblings. I started to imagine myself as Brian, and specifically my little brother as Danny, imagining him having to put me down and the weight he would have to carry for it. Before rewatching this scene earlier this year, I hadn't cried in like 6 years. That's the power of Carriers. It takes away every cinematic prosper until all we have left is raw human pain. We have no villain, no big evil, just people making impossible choices. Brian's death is the moment the film's thesis becomes clear. Survival isn't living, it's just dying slower. The next morning, Danny and Kate finally reach Turtle Beach, the supposed sanctuary that kept them going this whole time. But Danny realizes without his his brother, this place means nothing. Turtle Beach was never about safety. It was about memory, about a time when they were just kids playing in the sand. He says that him and Kate are two strangers who don't have anything left to say to each other. Danny isn't sure how long they'll actually live, but he knows he'll be alone in the end. The movie ends on Danny and Brian as children back when life wasn't too bad, and that's what makes Carriers so haunting. It's not a movie about infection, it's about grief, about watching the light fade from everything you love until even hope feels like a lie you tell yourself to keep breathing. When the credits roll, you realize Carriers never had a message about overcoming. It's about acceptance, that sometimes there's no victory, just a quiet relief of the inevitable. For me, this movie isn't just depressing, it's human. It's a reminder that in the end, all the rules, the planning, the running, none of it matters if you lose the part of yourself that feels. Carriers isn't about surviving the end of the world, it's about the moment you stop wanting to. But I want to thank you guys for bearing with me through that case of depression being turned into a movie. Let me know how you guys are feeling in the comments. As always, keep watching the dark because it's definitely watching you.